Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Enemy Album Club. And the reason for this is it's 1975 Day, isn't it?
It is.
There it is.
1975 Day. So we've been talking about this album for a long time. We've come back into the Album Club studio for a one-off special, talking about this album, which seems like we've been waiting for it for months. And I'm Dan Stubbs. This is Enemy's Dan Stubbs. This is Enemy's
Tom Smith.
This is Enemy's
Al Hunt.
and we are going to be discussing this. We're going to be doing a brief inquiry into online relationships. So let's start off. The album came out last night. We did a Twitter listening party. We've all had it in the office for a while, so it's not quite our initial reactions to it. But what do we think of the album? Starting with you, Elle.
I really like it.
More. Give us more.
More. As with the last one, they've just kind of tried to do every genre in music, and I feel like they've succeeded with that mission. I maybe doubted them a little bit more with the last album, and this time I was fully on board.
So you wrote a piece for us this week about
Yeah.
how your troubled relationship with the 1975.
Yes, I didn't really like them.
Yeah.
I thought Matt Healy was a bit of a twat initially.
He always says the nicest things about you as well. So
Yeah. I've now realised he just kind of says exactly what comes from his brain at any one time. It's not necessarily been a twat. And I've fallen in love with the band over the last, few years. So I didn't doubt that they would do what they set out to do this time. I really like
this
it.
album really feels like everything that's in his brain this year, doesn't it? It's like there's so much.
Yeah, it's just like one
in it.
kind of like content splurge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what the whole thing.
Content splurge.
That's just what it's all been, isn't it? Like you see all those posters everywhere, the videos. It's just like, it's very fitting for the time. It's just infinite content of shows and songs and things to talk about. So it's very fitting, and their campaign has kind of played into the idea of that.
So we'll talk about the campaign, I think. So Tommy Smith, what is Elle was a convert sort of on the last album.
Yeah.
You've been signed up to the cult for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I converted on the last album.
Right, yeah.
And same sort of first album, I was just like, it's fine, it wasn't for me. And then I came around on the second one, but I was still a little bit, half of it's really good, half of it's a bit eh. And then this time, I just threw myself into it completely, right from the off. From the moment, the first time I listened to it, I was just like, this is fucking brilliant.
Yeah. And tell the viewers where you heard it in the
So yeah, we went out
Dirty
Hit studio in Wandsworth, and they played it on these like huge speakers, like really loud in just one ear, which was kind of annoying. But yeah, like, so they played it from start to finish, and you had like the first few songs are singles, and then the first new song I'd heard was How to Draw, and how it turned into this weird Aphex Twin style electronic like banger. I was just like, what is this gonna be like? And then it went to a ballad, and then it started sounding like Post Malone, and it had that thing with the computer. It was just like, it's a sensory overload. Like you were there as well, and I was just sat there looking at you, just like, just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, I loved it, but it was just so much in one go. But yeah, that was a great experience. But it's great that everyone else can hear it, because it's one of those albums that needs to be talked about and picked over, and it has been for like the last 2-3 weeks. But it's good to see like fans finally get to hear it.
And I think like people are genuinely have been like super excited about hearing this for the first time.
Yeah.
It's been kind of like, it's great for us because we've had it on the office so much, but it's also kind of annoying because people are going like, especially so I very much put my pin in this and Said that I think it's a work of genius. I gave it 5 stars in the review. I've written more frothy words about this band than possibly any other artist. But and people are like, oh, come on, Dan, people have even said that they wanted to do an intervention on me because when I compared them to Lennon and McCartney, I turned up to meet some friends in the pub, and they were like, "This is an intervention. You have to stop now." But people have been going, "Is it really as good as all this, or are you just bullshitting for work purposes?" And no, it really is. I think a fucking brilliant album.
Excuse me. It's fine. So what were the question you were going to ask? Is like, is it an instant classic?
Yes,
it is, right?
I think it is. So for controversy's sake, you should say no.
No, I don't think it's an
Great.
classic. I think
let's see if we can convince you, buddy.
I think with your reviews that it was like OK Computer, and a couple of a lot of
Snowflake
people were
Computer.
like, what? That's a lot. I don't know. Did people at the time think OK Computer was an instant classic as well?
I kind of
don't
think
know.
they did. Like, I remember there was loads of like, maybe not right at the time, but this was around the time when music magazines were completely obsessed with putting lists together of everything, the best album of all time, and all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. And like, OK Computer went right in to the top 10s, top 5s of all these lists. And
Yeah.
I remember thinking like, oh, you need to give it some time. But actually, it's kind of still there, isn't it? You know, it's
Yeah.
still regarded as like this kind of landmark album. And it does feel like this sort of does the same thing. I guess the OK Computer comparison as well is partly because of the subject matter. So it's
Yeah.
like, OK Computer was about kind of tech paranoia and things like that. And this is this, but like the online version, I think. But what do you think, Tom? Instant classic?
I think when we get round to like next year, and there's going to be all this kind of, like you said, the best albums of the last decade, because it's
Yeah.
end of the teens. This will be well up there, like 100%. Like I think it's one of the most interesting British albums we've had in a long time.
It just looks, I mean, everything about it is so nicely done as well. I mean, look at it looks like a New Order album, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got a very sort of factory
It's
feel.
a
to
magic
it.
eye.
Yeah.
If you do the magic eye, you just see a picture of me kissing Matty Healy.
It's making my eyeballs hurt.
So let's talk about the build up to it. So we went, you know, we Enemy went really big on the last album, I Like It When You Sleep. It was our album of the year in 2016. Then after that, so that was such a huge leap up for the band. It's like, well, you know, what can they sustain that?
Yeah.
They started doing these interviews where they were like, oh yeah, we're going to make our Queen is dead and stuff. So talk about piling the pressure on themselves. And then really, like, it's been such a long period, this. It feels like they've been trailing this album forever. What were your first impressions of, what was the first track called that came out?
Give Yourself
a Try.
Yeah. Well, that came out in like the end of May, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember listening to that song driving back from like the Lido, which is just mad because it's been so cold and miserable now that I can't even remember that time of my life when I was happy. Anyway, but I like how they've trailed it for quite a long time. It feels like a lot of artists at the moment are so kind of hung up on the idea of a surprise release and like everything at once, like Beyonce's done with her visual album for Lemonade, which is cool, and I like it when artists do that as well. But it's been nice to have kind of traditional singles released for people to spend a bit of time with. And every time a new single for this record has come out, I feel like it's just taken things a different direction.
But the good thing about the band is that they're kind of that world they create for the fans. So like when you know, fans signed up to a particular list, got kind of mailed a little plastic bag full of like, you know, kind of
Like
propaganda
They're like a
basically.
manifesto, didn't they?
Yeah,
It's like this-
yeah. And then the posters start popping up. They're really kind of like sort of oblique statements. You know, what did the early posters say? I can't remember on the.
The Billboard ones.
Billboard
One of them
ones,
had
yeah.
that line from Love It If You Made It, just like poison me, daddy.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, like you're saying, it is a very like traditional campaign. It's quite interesting for an album that is about life online to really re-engage with the physical so much, because billboards, you know, mailers, like all this merch, everything that's gone with it, all these like pop-up shows in like small places and stuff. It's kind of like at odds with what the album's kind of big themes, but yeah, when I first saw Give Yourself a Try, I was like, this is the only one that finished. I was like, it's alright. It's like,
Actually, and do you know what? That song is just okay compared to the rest of the album.
yeah, it's a good start. Like,
Yeah.
but I think, yeah, like you said, each
Yeah.
time it kind of built up and built up and built up, and now it's at this point where it's just like,
They've interestingly had to give a bit of writing credit away on that as well, haven't they?
yeah. So Joy Division, Disorder, it's very similar.
And the New Order link, maybe they're looking at the artwork too, going, what? So yeah, I mean, like, so that was the first one that came out, and that was so long ago. And they kind of put out basically a track a month, haven't they? After that,
Yeah.
and then so the next one that came out was Two Time, or was it Love It If
Love
We
If
Made
We
It?
Made It.
And that was the kind of moment where you're like, oh wow, this is actually something. So I think that Love It If We Made It is right up there with the best tracks of the year.
Yeah.
Is it, do you think, the millennial We Didn't Start a Fire, or the millennial It's the End of the World as We Know It?
Well, I don't know about that. Maybe. Yeah, why not?
I think we didn't start the fire because it's just listing a lot of things, isn't it?
Listing a lot of things, but the things, I mean, it's just so actually the first time you hear it, you kind of can't take it all in, and it's kind of genius what it did. You know, there's quotes, and some of the lyrics are just quotes from, like, there's a Donald Trump tweet that's a quote in there.
Thank you, Kanye. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I moved on like a bitch, it says in there,
Yeah.
which is a Trump thing as well.
And they can't even get that, like he said, they can't get it played on radio for words that the president
in America.
literally
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the opening lyrics are quite a
Yeah,
shock
I mean,
to the
they-
system as
But they thought we
well.
might as well just go the whole hog and put like fuck, heroin, all that shit right at the start.
Which is
Get it
the
over
other thing that started.
Get it over with.
That's the other thing that started coming out around this time, isn't it? Because this is around the time they would start doing interviews, and we learned that Matty, he had kind of revealed that he has a kind of heroin, use, and he'd been to rehab. It eventually emerged. He told me the lovely, heartwarming story about him and his horse that he did equine therapy with.
Yeah.
Which sounded like one of the most beautiful experiences. He said that the approval of the horse meant more to him than any human being that he'd ever known. Which is quite an image. I wish there was a documentary of that. I don't think there is.
Yeah, that's a Netflix documentary that's happened, isn't it?
But so it's clear there was kind of like real world stuff going on there. But the idea behind that song was supposed to be like really outward looking. So I think Matty's music, you can kind of accuse him sometimes of living in his own head a bit too much. So even on the last album, there's a song "Me and My Brain," is it called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, it's a good head to be in.
Well, yeah.
Like, if
lot
I,
going on
want to
there.
hear the inside of anyone's brain, it's probably, there's very few people, but he's definitely one of those people who is very good at, sort of articulating what he's thinking at any one time. And I don't think many artists can do that, or I care about doing that.
So this song kind of gave you a hint that, okay, they're going to look at the wider world as well, but it's still so long ago. So but I guess it felt like, how are they going to keep up the momentum on this campaign? Do you think they managed to do that? Are they built to a kind of crescendo of excitement this week? Could you sleep last night, or was it like the night before? Was it like Christmas?
I could sleep last night, but I also knew there was an album coming out, and I was very aware of it.
We have talked
it's
about
not
it a
been
bit, haven't
subtle,
we?
has
We've
it?
talked
No.
about it a little bit.
I feel like they've done a very good job of getting everyone talking about it this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whether you like it or not,
I
you're
saw
going to hear
someone
about
on
it.
Twitter this morning saying, does anyone know where I can read anything about 1975?
Yes.
Can someone send me some links?
That was like old wag David Renshaw, ex of Enemy.
But I like
Why do you think he's not here anymore?
I like the excitement around it. I think
Yeah.
it's nice.
We did this blog this week where it showed all the kind of billboards and things that have popped up around, and in Manchester there's literally like a kind of a house-sized mural that popped up of the band. Which, bearing in mind, there's loads of sort of city centre flats. I was just imagining if you really hated the 1975, and every time you open your curtains in the morning, you just had to stare at this mural of it, you'd be kind of annoyed. I like the
wouldn't win
idea
you
of it.
over.
Like,
You'd have
it certainly wouldn't win you over. No. But and then Tom, what can you explain to us? Music for Cars. This was at one point supposed to be called Music for Cars.
Yeah,
This
so
is-
they've been teasing this for a long time. From what I can tell, I'm still not getting my head around it. So they're doing a second album. So they've done this one, and then there's Notes on a Conditional Form, which is out sometime spring next year. They're kind of, I don't think they know.
But they were recording that concurrently with
Yeah,
this
so
one. and
still, I don't know if they're still recording it, but they're recording it at the same time. They're doing 2 albums, and I think this is kind of like the Music for Cars era.
yeah.
So it's kind of like, I think by the time end of next year, you'll be able to smash those 2 albums together, and you've got like a quadruple album, I think, probably by the end of it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the all-encompassing era.
All the kids love a quadruple album.
Famously, well, Drake did it, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like the whole era.
And because there was talk, wasn't there, for a while that they would, like he even said he was going to split the band after the Music for Cars era. So it's supposed to be 3
Yeah.
albums that tell the fable of a boy who dreams of being a star, then becomes one, then has his kind of Ziggy Stardust like crash into oblivion.
Well, they've always been like big on like the mythology of their own band, which
Yeah.
I think is a good thing, because not a lot of bands do that anymore. Some are very straight with who they are, but it's fun having like a narrative to kind of buy into, and like you said, like the being young, the excess, and then the all kind of coming back down. and you know, it's interesting to see someone and a band still throw themselves into creating narratives and myths and like doing all these little, you know, Easter eggs in videos and stuff that hark back to their very first, you know, songs and videos. I think that's an interesting thing, and I don't think a lot of people would have the balls to do it.
You suspect people when they make big statements like that, they kind of instantly regret it, though. It's like every rapper that's ever
I
said
don't
they're
think
retiring.
I don't think they do.
All those people who go, "Oh, I'm leaving Britain if Labour get in." It's like, well, there's the door, mate. Go on. Yeah. So yeah, but thankfully they've gone back on this.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is the end of kind of chapter 1 of the 1975 is the idea. This album and next year's album, Notes on a Conditional Form. And you know what an arc. Like so let's talk about the kind of the early days. So it's fair to say actually that like at Enemy we didn't really buy into them on the first album, did we?
You could
What
say
was
that.
your take on that?
I could kind of see what they were trying to do. So with Girls and their whole video for Girls, they were kind of acting out this rock and roll cliche, I guess, with like girls in underwear, like pretending to play their instruments. How cute, because of course we all know that women can't play instruments. And yeah, I could see the intention, but it didn't quite land for me. I thought if this is a parody, it's not really coming off. So yeah, I didn't really buy into it. But increasingly, like with the stuff that he's written since, I feel like he has a sense of humour about laughing at the cliches that he's involved in at the same time as a rock star.
It's very much like yeah. I mean, so they do. What they do has become so much more nuanced, hasn't it? So yeah, you write that video, but then if you compare it to something like Sincerity is Scary, where it's a kind of amazing sort of La La Land style video where it's just him kind of sort of bobbing down the street and, you know, got all these kind of things happening around him. Everything, it feels like everything they do is just so kind of clever and well thought out. You kind of wonder how they have time to conceive it all. It's like, it's such a kind of big thing that they put together, and I don't know, they seem to have the golden touch, so they don't really make a misstep at the moment. Although perhaps last night you were at the gig,
Yeah, it got a bit hairy at one point.
you nearly crushed some of your children.
Yeah, there was a moment, and it was just like, okay, someone's got seriously hurt, but everyone was fine.
Yeah, everyone's fine.
A good
That was
time
their one misstep on this one. But yeah, the thing about them is it's kind of this. They sort of make music and they create their world for now, don't you? So yeah, you're right. That thing about second guessing everything, almost like every statement on here is like backed up by, oh, I know that's a piss take, or you know, there's some kind of counterpoint.
Yeah.
If he makes a big silly statement, then he'll take the piss out of it in the next line, which is, I don't know. It's very difficult to be a pop star in the woke era, I would say. Do you reckon? Or
I think they're just hyper aware, and I think they very much. I don't know, it's hard to describe. I think they're very aware of what they're doing, and they know that their fans are aware of who they really are, and so they'll say something maybe silly or whatever, but it's kind of like with a knowing little wink, and it's like they know what they're doing. But yeah, you know, like it's, you know, if that Girls came out now, it'd be very different, I think, to how it was received
it would
then.
have been done differently, I think.
Yeah. And he's kind of like admitted to his mistakes. And
yeah, he has. And that was a big factor, I guess, in why I got on board fully.
If you compare it with the Two Time video, so like that was kind of an open casting call. I think he said in the interview that we did, I don't know if I used this bit, but he said that was kind of his kind of proudest moment, and like everything he's trying to achieve was that Two Time video, where it's kind of like this kind of, you know, a spectrum of people that represents
really like
all
young,
of society.
diverse,
Yeah.
With great ideas and like full of energy. That video is so full of energy.
And so it's inclusivity is the kind of the, you know, which is so much the part of the cultural conversation these days.
Yeah.
So it just feels like an album for now. But this is why I guess I was asking that question about Instant Classic. Is it just something that sits now, or how will we feel about it in time? But we'll get on to that. So you've been so how have the fans been taking it? So you've been reading some fan reactions.
I have, yeah. They've been. A lot of people have obviously loved it. We've already got some memes emerging.
Mm-hmm.
Like any good
Can you enact
campaign.
the memes?
Breaking memes. Well, there's one meme that's doing the rounds at the moment. All these feelings that I've got, and they've sort of, you know, there's the meme of the volume dial turning up to 11, and then this child that's just like in a blurry, like dropping the camera. That one has been used quite a lot.
There'll be more.
There'll be more.
This is day one.
Yeah.
We're only on day one.
And what was the reaction like at the gig last night?
They loved it.
Yeah.
Like it's so.
Did you let out a small bit of wee when they came on stage?
It's so like you just get whipped up into it. Like these fans are so excited. Like it was their first show, I think, in over a year, in their first show of this era, and just all these young people just like having a brilliant time and singing and dancing. And it's just you just get a part of it.
And they're quite unusual, aren't they? They kind of have like a real teenage fan base, a young teenage fan base, but also kind of a lot of older people as well, like me. And but you went to the under 14s show, so
It wasn't under.
That's so you could see, wasn't it?
I was like that massive cow. It was 14 plus. It was under 14.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so I went to that show, and there was a lot of young people. There was some older people. There was some dads at the back.
Right.
But everyone had a great time. Like,
What did the dads think?
Poison
I
me.
was by one, and
Poison me, daddy.
I was by one, and they were.
You should sell that as a T-shirt for the dads at the back.
Yeah.
Poison me, daddy T-shirts.
I don't think that means what you think it means. But yeah, I saw a lot of older people be won over, I think, who were just there for
Yeah.
sort of.
So I mean, it seems like we have our enemy reproductive parts very firmly inside the 1975. But it is fair to say that not everybody in the office does feel like this.
No.
So Jordan, for example, one of our staff writers, he's only just, but they're falling like dominoes, aren't they? He's just decided that they are great. Although Mark Beaumont, our resident grumpy old man, did ask earlier on if we were listening to a Michael Bolton album, didn't he? So there you are.
But everyone was like that. Like you had, we had a couple more people just like, well, you said you were one round last time. I think there's a few more people being one round this time, and you know, not everyone has the same opinion here. We all have very different opinions about things. We just get excited about music, and I feel like this is something both us and the people that read Enemy are very excited about. So it's just fun to be a part of that.
All right, so let's talk favourite tracks.
Well, talking about Beaumont, he had a very visceral reaction earlier today to I Couldn't Love You More.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my kind of dark horse favourites, actually.
Right.
He didn't like it because it's got massive Lionel Richie ballad vibes, but that's the exact reason that I do love it, actually. And it's got a whacking great key change.
Yeah.
If they ever perform on stools when they're, doing their
Is that their
reunion
stand-up
tour,
moment?
that's their moment to
It
rise
reminds
up.
me of, it was probably before your time, but there was a big like cultural event when Scott and Charlene got married in Neighbours, and it's like that.
Yeah.
If only you could kind of retrofit that song onto the wedding moment of Scott and Charlene's wedding, that would have been absolutely perfect. Instead, it was Angry Anderson doing Suddenly, which is also kind of a good tune.
You've lost them.
Yeah.
I've lost you. So dark
No
horse
idea
favourites.
what you're
What about your obvious one?
Love It If We Made It, I think. Because the main hook of it is kind of optimistic in an album that is about how bleak the world is.
Great.
There's a bit of hope in the mix.
Mainstream and dark horse favourite from you then?
Mainstream, It's Not Living If It's Not With You. That's a good one, isn't it?
So that is, where does it fit in? I was thinking about where it fits in the all-time greatest pop songs about heroin. It's up there with Golden Brown.
Yeah.
And what about There She Goes? Maybe it goes There She Goes.
Yeah, There She Goes is very good.
Yeah.
It's up there. So
But,
that's my mainstream favourite.
And it's funny. It's like it's funny lyrics because the thing about heroin is it's bad, but it's obviously pretty damn tasty. The amount of people that think it's so good. So it's like it's a song that's going like, yeah, I bloody loved it. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a love song for the Brown.
For the Brown.
Yeah.
So that one was my mainstream favourite. I'm still getting my head around how to say this one. So How to Draw
Petrichor.
Petrica. I don't know.
Dunno.
Petrica. The one where it goes all bleepy bleepy.
So it's like a mythical animal, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just
With
fucking
the head
brilliant, isn't it?
of Matty Healy on the body
It's
of a
just
zebra.
like, I just didn't see that one coming. It's like, whoa!
Yeah, no, that is great. I'm going to pick also. I'm going to pick Two Time for that kind of sort of early '90s piano house
Yep.
flavour, which is co-written. That's the only co-write on here. That's not from the band. It's No Rome.
The That's his next protege.
the next protege, yeah.
He's the next one.
Who was in the studio when we went to visit, and he was kind of working on his own album there. And then, so I think there's been a bit of cross pollination between his stuff and their stuff. So like we're pretty excited about hearing that album as well. And what's it called? That one, is it Inside Your Mind? The one I like that just goes turns into a little. So that turns into it's very Beatlesy.
Which
quite
there's
like
a
the
Venn
Beatles.
diagram
Quite
of
like the Beatles.
the Beatles, 1975. There's Dan Stubbs right in the middle.
Yeah, having that sweet spot. It's got the kind of Beatlesy sort of strummy bit, but what I love about it is it's like where it should have a chorus, it just has this like sort of drum beat thing. It's just it's nuts. It doesn't work like a song should, which is really clever. I think it's like how many things can you do to a song in the modern age that you haven't heard before?
Yeah.
And it's like it's really simple, and I'm not saying it's groundbreaking, but it's good. And also we should talk about Mine.
The jazzy one.
Shaz,
It's
thoughts?
It's got, you know, in Call Me By Your Name, when he's tinkering away on his piano all the time in his little Italian house. That's what that song reminds me of,
Right.
at the beginning anyway.
So when you came back, so you went to studio in LA and you're like, oh, some of it's big
Don't know if I
pop.
mentioned it yet.
And I was just like, yeah, pop, okay. Oh, there's like a punky, grungy one. I was like, yeah, okay. There's this jazz one. I was like, hang on, there's a jazz one. Come on.
There's two jazzes, right? There's neo jazz and there's trad jazz.
Yeah, this is very,
Sincerity's kind of neo jazz.
yeah, this is very traditional.
Mine is just like, yeah, it's like a sort of Disney song or something. Like you kind of
Because I think, who was he talking about that was really influenced?
Cole Porter, I think. Yeah.
And Coltrane and all that kind of stuff. But
Mm.
it's just like, if this was anyone else, I would be like, come on.
But it's counterbalanced by those lyrics, which are really kind of like the lyrics are so 2018. The sound of it is kind of 1948. You know, it's nuts. It's like I don't know how hard is it to write a song like that. You know, so that sounds kind of familiar and different at the same time. No, it's clever.
Yeah.
It's clever.
It's clever.
And the last track probably is worth mentioning as well, which is ending your album on a track called "I Always Want to Die." Brackets. Sometimes it's very 1975. And it's just an epic kind of 90s sort of...
Bends. It sounds like something from the Bends.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
saying
yeah,
this to you. I was like, it's one of those songs that you can't believe has never been written or released before. And then you listen to it, it's like, okay. Yeah, I feel like I've known this for like 15, 20 years. It's just brilliant.
It's just, I mean, like, I think the title as well just kind of sums up so many things about it. It's like, I always want to die, brackets sometimes. It's kind of like when you have the Smiths, like people who think the Smiths are a really miserable band are just missing the point of them, which is like, girlfriend in a coma. I know, it's serious. Like, that's funny. That is funny. And they're kind of, that kind of subversion of taking them, they don't take themselves too seriously. I think that's
It's the perfect end to a night bus listen. When you're steaming on the top deck. That's not a euphemism.
Seen that a few times on the 171.
Just turn that shit all the way up, have a little cry, go home.
Got a favourite lyric? Who sprung this on you?
I'm just pissed off because you pied me off. That's a good one. And I saw in his annotations, or whatever you call it, on Genius, that he borrowed pied from Love Island. So really, he's a man after my own heart.
What about you?
There's a really funny line in Give Yourself a Try when he's like spending obscene amounts on fucking seeds and beans online. I don't know, it's just like so stupid. I think delivery just really makes me laugh, but it's kind of like that silly nature that...
Yeah. I think the one that sticks in my head is the opening line of Mine, which is, I fight crime online sometimes, which is great. It's sort of like, you know, that we all thought, I mean, it's like, should I wade in on that? Oh, I can't be asked with an hour of people atting me with nonsense after that.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. Snowflake smasher. You can actually, and we probably should also mention, what did you describe it as? The Siri thing. It's kind of a poem, allegory, fairy tale.
Yeah.
It talks about, you know, a lonely man who loves internet, and he's...
It's the one thing about it I could probably do without.
So I was going to ask, is this going to become this album's Revolution 9, where you get to it and you go, yeah, skip?
I really like it, that track.
Has it got much re-listen value? Like, it's funny, but...
I think it works quite well in the context of the album, because so much of it is about like finding relationships off the screen, like real relationships and connections and stuff, but the only kind of actual relationship, like marriage, that's described as this marriage to the computer, which I think is quite clever. But yeah, maybe I take your point about you wouldn't want to listen to it every day.
Because he was originally going to do that. He was going to speak the lyrics, and then he almost got his dad, Tim Healy, to do it.
Oh, that would have been good.
Would it?
Yes, his dad's the famous Geordie actor Tim Healy.
Yeah.
From I'm really, really trying to resist the urge to do a Geordie accent, but I can't do
Please
one.
don't do it.
I'm not gonna do
Please
it.
don't. And then they just settled on Siri in the end. But it's weird, the Siri does sound like him. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what they've done to it.
Is it real Siri, do you think? Or is it like...
I don't know.
I wonder if you have to pay Apple for that.
Oh yeah, Siri's got to get a co-writing credit on that.
I've forgotten what I was going to ask next. So, you saw it last night, Tom.
Yeah.
The first show, Kingston, super exciting show. What did it tell you, do you think, about future live shows? Because, again, when I went to interview them in the studio, I don't know if I've mentioned it, he was saying that we can expect every level of show from them. So, and he was kind of hinting, basically, that they're going to do these tiny shows like this. There's going to be arena stuff. We already now know there's going to be Reading Leeds headline slot, and like last time they toured was unbelievable. The last album tour was this kind of beautiful set with kind of everything was a screen, wasn't it? It kind of changed through time. And the mad thing was if you went to see the show at the start of the tour, it was almost a completely different show from the one at the end. They changed it all the way through, which is really clever. What's your prediction?
I don't think it tells us anything. I don't know. It's really hard to tell. That was a really intimate welcome back show. There was basically a few lights. There was no sort of backing.
They didn't really have any staging, did they?
No staging. I think the biggest thing to take away was the way they perform with each other. Like, they're pros now. They're showmen. They had a few extra musicians with them, but there's still moments when they just cut to just the four of them playing some of the older songs.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I am now excited to see it in like an arena. But it was quite funny because like Give Yourself a Try and all that, they sound both really kind of gritty and punky when they're played live that way. But when they get into the stadiums and the festival headliners, it's going to sound completely different. So it's going to change like the last tour did, which is very on brand for them because it's all very fluid. And they're going to start playing songs from the next album on this tour that they've said. So it'll be one of those tours you can go to several times and you'll have a different experience and want to go back and back again.
So I think the idea was by the end of the tour, the second album will be out. So that the sequel to this will be out.
Yeah.
So yeah. And did you notice because they were kind of when I went to visit them in the studio, I don't know if I mentioned that they were kind of doing loads of kind of workouts and stuff. I walked in there and George was just stood around with his top off. And it was like looking at Dolph Lundgren playing He-Man in the classic 1980s film, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Did you notice? Does he count as your expert on snacks? Has he gone into the snack league or not?
Who, George or Matt?
George. Underrated 1975 member.
I would say he's a complete snack.
Complete snack.
Complete snack.
He's a grab bag.
Yeah. He's a toffee crisp. My favourite snack. No, he's such a good producer, isn't he,
Yeah.
George? And he's kind of, him and Matt Healy have really shaped other sounds that are going on a lot. Which is,
This is a great link to. We tried to start a scene, didn't we? What did we call it?
Healy Wave.
Healy Wave, yeah. And then he said that he proposed the term Mattycore, which again sounds like a mythical animal. What new bands are influenced, kind of picking up that 1975 thing? Are there kind of bands that you would recommend to people, or kind of artists that you would recommend to people?
I think the big one next year is Japanese House, which is signed to the same label. George and Matty also worked a little bit with Amber on her early sort of singles and EPs, but this new album that's coming out is very much just Amber. She went to a cabin in Wisconsin and wrote
You
this.
interviewed her, didn't you?
I went to see her the other day at
Right.
Scarlet.
Oh, you saw her the other day.
So I heard some of the new material. I think her sound has kind of drifted away from that kind of Matty-core, Healy wave, whatever you've called it, thing.
It didn't catch on.
But she does have that same dirty hit thing of really thinking very, very carefully about how she rolls stuff out. She started off really, really mysterious. No one really knew what she looked like. And now she's cast her actual ex-girlfriend in the video for Lilo. And they're acting out their breakup and stuff. So she's come completely full circle.
Yeah,
on
and
how
that
she
kind of
used to
raw
be.
honesty is very kind of in
Yeah,
line with
so I think in a way that's similar to 1975. It's all very thought through. And then No Rome as well.
So Matty's on Narcissus, which is on that debut EP.
Yeah.
And I suspect that there's going to be a lot of crossover between the two going forward. They're No Room supporting on their upcoming tour. Same with Pale Waves, who I'm sure you already know. So it's a good opportunity to see some new bands that kind of have their little few inspirations. So if you like 1975, you'll probably like both of these support bands. So yeah, next year those are the ones to get down early for.
And that I guess that is a big thing that they've put forward, is this kind of idea of kind of real kind of emotional honesty. There's the track on here, what's it called, Be My Mistake. You listen to that and think, wow, you saying this?
I felt guilty
On a record.
just listening to it. I felt like
It's a song about guilt. It's very tender. It's kind of, I think there's a few moments on this that kind of, wet the eyes a bit, don't they? For me, I don't know. Anyway,
Right.
well, we waffled on enough.
yeah, I think that's
We
plenty.
waffled on enough. Well, it was traditional at the end of Album Club in its glory days to give a rating out of 5. I've already given it 5 out of 5. So I'm going to give it 5 times 5, 25.
25.
Yeah. How about you?
1975 out of 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, 5. I can't think of anything.
5. Well,
Give up the
yeah.
games. I really, really fluffed that one.
Well, we hope you are enjoying digging into the album. We will stop banging on about it soon, promise. And thank you very much for watching. Thank you to Al. Thank you to Tom. I've been Dan, and cheers for tuning in.
See ya.